Well, it's not a very exciting story in that it wasn't like I got this call from God one night after a revival meeting or anything. I was working as an airplane mechanic on a little airfield near our house and was watching TV one night. And this was during the famine for Ethiopia, like 1984, 1983, when the famine was on. And all these organizations were raising money to buy food and distribute it. And I was watching this ad. It was for MAF, Mission Aviation Fellowship, and this old plane comes in and lands on a strip, and they get out and they start handing out these sacks of grain, and all these starving, emaciated people standing around. And I just looked at that and I thought, I can do that. That's something that I'm suited for. I could be involved in that. And next thing you know, we'd sold our house, sold everything we owned, and we were on a plane headed to Zaire, which we literally knew nothing about. And that's how it started. The first 2 years were in the city, the capital city of Kinshasa. And the country at that time was in a pretty rapid state of decay. The government was pretty much non-existent. Inflation was in the tens of thousands of percent per year. Military wasn't paid, the police weren't paid. None of the government officials had been paid for years, so corruption was really high. Traffic was absolutely horrible. There's a huge city of, I think it was like 4 million people at that time, with no real infrastructure for electricity or sewage or water. It's a very complicated place to live. It offered a lot of challenges. I wasn't a preacher, I wasn't a teacher. I worked on airplanes. Well, there were missionaries living all throughout the countryside there, and they used the airplane then to bring them supplies, to get them in and out of the country, to bring their kids to and from boarding school. So it was a vital link that they had to have in order to live there. So my job was working on these airplanes. I had a crew of Zairian workers that I was teaching, and they were working with me. And the area we were living became very unsafe to live in. In fact, we lived for over 2 years with a packed suitcase under our bed, ready to just grab it and go at any moment. We evacuated at one time for, I think, 6 weeks, went to Kenya when things got real hot. But we reached a point where we just felt like, God doesn't want us here right now risking our lives and our family. When we left, the border was closed to any air traffic, so we had to literally fly in a small plane to a dirt strip on one side of the border, take a Land Rover ride to the border, walk across no man's land from Zaire into Uganda, clear immigration into Uganda, get in another Land Rover to another dirt airstrip, get in another small airplane, fly to Entebbe in Uganda, that's their international airport, to clear customs, and then we flew from there to Nairobi, and then from Nairobi we came home. Well, about that time, the country of Ethiopia was opening up again to mission activity. They'd been closed since the late 70s because of a military coup, change of government. Then there was a communistic government there for many years, lots of wars with Eritrea, and so it was all settling down. They were allowing missionaries back in, and we got a request from MAF to ask if we wanted to go to Ethiopia. And so we prayed about it, and at first we thought, no, we just don't have it in us to do that. But after a period of time, we felt very confident that God was saying, you need to go back. I've got something in store for you there.
Well, probably the biggest impact that I had about coming from living overseas was just seeing the people's generosity and their joy with the thing. They had very, very little, and yet they gave it all. One particular incident, when our house help, he was our gardener. He had been asking us to come over. We decided to go this one afternoon, and it turned out he had a couple chickens that he had killed, and that was a precious commodity. You just didn't give that to anybody. He made this huge feast for us and our 2 boys. We had no idea, and we felt very we were happy that he was willing to do that for us, but we felt bad that he had killed everything for us, and
His
all
entire flock.
and all we wanted was just to come say hi, how are you, and that was it. But that was their culture, they give the best they have for other people.
And one thing my dad taught me, he was a missionary for 50 years. One thing he always said was, it's better to err on the side of kindness and get taken advantage of than to err on the side of stinginess and not help somebody who really needs your help. And I saw my dad get taken advantage of so many times. I saw myself get taken advantage of so many times. But I just kept thinking, this person really might be in need. I can spare this little bit, so I'm going to give this little bit that I have to help this person. And if they take advantage of me, at least I'm trying. At least I'm trying to be a good Christian person. So often my faith is conditional. How joyful I am in my relationship to Christ is conditional. How everything else is going. Do I have enough money? Is my house comfortable? Are my kids healthy? But to the Africans that we lived with, that had nothing to do with it. They just could live with very little and be very happy about it.